Hello and welcome to the In the Mind of a Designer. In this course, we are going to learn how we can create animated Instagram stories. So, what is the In the Mind of a Designer? Have you ever wondered that how designers come up with amazing ideas and they manage to create a perfect piece in every aspect? Well, in this course, we are going on this path as a designer. Well, in this course, we will start with color theory fundamental. You will learn about color theory basics and how to work with RGB color model. Then you will learn about color harmony, how to set a perfect color harmony for your design, and also you will learn meaning of each color and where to use each color. At the end of each section, there are practice files which students can test their knowledge. After that, we go towards C.R.A.P Design rule, otherwise known as a C.R.A.P Design. We will learn how to apply C.R.A.P in our design, how to work with symmetry and asymmetry design. Then we go to the important part, which is practice. In practice section, you will see how I bring up ideas through my mind into Illustrator, how I play with the rules, how I break them in order to make my piece. The good thing is that the practice section is a live section. You see better how I deal with pitfalls and how I overcome the challenges that I face. This course has two sections, theory and practice. The theory section is good for every designer who are struggling these topics, and the practice section is good for beginner users. In practice section, we will cover topics such as how to remove background from an image, how to work with simple shapes, how to work with clipping mask, how to create basic animations, and how can we use free plugins in order to boost our workflow speed. So, welcome to this course. Let's start. Now let's talk about C.R.A.P design model. C.R.A.P, or otherwise known as C.R.A.P, is a design principle given by Robin Patricia Williams. It stands for contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity. By knowing C.R.A.P, you can constantly deliver effective design. Now in next couple of videos, we are going to break down each of these rules and we are going to dive a bit deeper into them. So let's begin. Let's talk about contrast. I'm sure you heard this phrase that says content is king. But at the end of this video, you will realize that contrast is key, contrast is king. Well, contrast rule says that important elements of your scene should stand out from the others. Sounds easy, right? Contrast can come through shape, size, color, and even text. Contrast is in overlap with another principle of design, and its emphasis. As it sounds, emphasis is a strategy that aims to draw the viewer's attention to a specific design element. Now, emphasis and contrast are in hand with hierarchy. Visual hierarchy is the arrangement of graphic elements in a design in order of importance of each element. So, how does hierarchy work? Well, it is really easy. First, decide which element is the important element of your design and make it stand out by using contrast. Then choose the second one and do the same. Keep doing it till you create a visual contrast between important elements. And now, most of you will say the hierarchy and emphasis are just the same. Well, it's close but not true. Emphasis is just another way to say make something stand out. For example, if you were typing a page of text to emphasize the headings, you would either style them in bold or make them bigger. Therefore, emphasis goes hand in hand with hierarchy, as it is needed to create a structure within a design by making certain elements stand out. Let's take a moment and talk about visual balance. I'm sure many of you find this subject hard and challenging. Well, visual balance is the sense that a design is equally weighted on both sides of its vertical center. A balanced design feels complete and comfortable, but a lack of balance feels unfinished and disconcerting. Now, there are many types of visual balance, but for the sake of this class, we are gonna stick with two: symmetry, and asymmetry. Symmetrical balance occurs when equal weights are on equal sides of a composition balanced around a fulcrum or axis in the center. So basically, it's a mirror. All you need to do is to halve your canvas and make them equally balanced on each side. Now, asymmetrical balance results from an unequal visual weight on each side of the composition. One side of the composition might contain a dominant element, which could be balanced by a couple or more lesser focal points on the other side. So, what is a dominant element now? The dominant element in a design is the one with the greatest visual weight, or the one that everything else points to. It's the element that attracts the eye first, more than anything else on the page. It can be a picture, or even when you create contrast between elements. Now, asymmetry balance can be quite hard to be mastered at it, but I was a game designer at first, and I found this example for me personally very useful. Imagine you want to create a balance between a dragon and a soldier. Who do you think will win the fight? Well, the answer is obvious. It's a dragon. But even now the composition feels balanced, though it's just a big object versus a small one. Now, if I make the dozens of soldiers, who will you think win the fight? Well, it is rather hard to say, but still, even now, it's a big element versus a small ones. And the composition still is balanced. You see, if we break it down, it's just a dominant element versus a small one. And that is about an asymmetry balance. In this type of situations, you don't balance your composition based on numbers. You balance them based on the weight and their impact on the overall composition. I think that is all for visual balance. Let's go towards the repetition. Now let's talk about repetition. Well, repetition is how you maintain consistency in a design. It helps users familiarize with the way information is presented to them. Elements such as color, shape, texture, line thickness, size can all be repeated to help develop a sense of organization, unity, and consistency. Well, the best example that I can come up with is the instruction that I use for this course. You see, from beginning till this point, I use a shade of gray background along with a watermark and 2 or 3 fonts to explain the theories. You see, this creates an organized design. Using repetition is one of the core things for design, but you don't always have to repeat same shape or color during each section. You can change them as long as you retain your harmony. I think that was the shortest theory I have explained it so far. So let's go to the alignment. Let's talk about alignment. This principle is mostly used with text, although depending on the picture you are creating, there are plenty of other uses for it. Alignment helps guide the eye towards what the audience needs to look at first, second, or third. When using alignment, if you are using text on a poster, for example, you want to put the most important information at the top, because the eye starts at the top and reads left to right. Keep that in mind. When placing text or similar objects, keep the alignment to left or right center is okay occasionally. But if you align everything to the center, your picture or poster will be weak. Now, there are a few tips about typography that we want to talk about it. Typography itself is really complex subject that if we want to go through all of it, I think it's gonna be around 3 more hours. So just keep these tips in your mind. Depending on your culture, always try to justify your text from left to right or reverse. Well, the reason for that is it's much easier to read. Human eye can find the edges easily and adapt better. It doesn't really have use in this class, but it is good to have this in your mind. Skip a font weight if you can. You can create a contrast by skipping a weight. For example, go from light to bold, medium to extra bold. Always align to one axis. It makes it more structured and easy to read. Don't use fancy fonts. Fonts should be readable, unless the client specifies you to use this font. Fonts such as Helvetica Nova, Fiotora, Champions Gothic, Open Sans, Sophia Pro can be a good choice. And avoid corners. You really want to let your design breathe. Mind the gaps, meaning that never ever leave one single word at the end of paragraph, otherwise it's known as a widow. And don't allow a new page or column to begin with the final word or line from a previous paragraph, separating it from the rest of its paragraph. This is also known as an orphan. Let's go towards the last principle. Let's talk about last principle and its proximity. The principle of proximity states that elements that are associated with each other should be placed closely. This principle is simple. It says that related elements should be together. Look at this example. As you see, designer spread the types all over the piece, but a pro designer will group them using proximity rule. With that being said, we are ready to start in the mind of a designer section.